A very good evening. You're watching the Newshour special edition with me, Kritsween Walia. Well, Joshimath has been declared a land subsidence zone for a reason. This is the same Joshimath which is considered one of the most important pilgrimage sites in the country. The gateway to Badrinath, the gateway to the Valley of Flowers, is sinking by the day. And 2 days ago, while releasing a report, ISRO stated just this and substantiated it with data. The report revealed that a rapid subsidence of 5.4 centimeters has been recorded in just 12 days. And now the National Disaster Management Authority, the NDMA, has asked all government institutions to refrain from sharing any details related to their findings till a final report is submitted by an expert group on the subject. They said that doing so is creating confusion not only among affected residents but also among citizens of the country. This comes, remember, right after the ISRO report revealed how the satellite images taken from Cartosat 2S satellite showed how Joshimath sank 5.4 centimeters between 27 December and 8th of January. It further showed how Joshimath Oli Road is also at the brink of collapse. However, post the NDMA order, ISRO's report was removed from its website.
This is absolutely non-admissible that the truth should come. If it is sinking, then they are trying to save the image of Prime Minister, the image building exercise at the cost of the people's life, at the cost of the well-being of the people. How it is going to help the victims or sufferers, one. And second, sooner or later people will come to know.
So you heard it from the Congress. This sequence of developments have not gone down well with the opposition as they're fuming over the gag order. They say that the gag order will only increase the anxiety of the people. It's being done to save the image of the Prime Minister. On the other hand, the BJP says that this is a well-thought move to tackle the current crisis.
Modi is just the administrative initiative because instead of creating panic, I mean, that situation has to be dealt technically and has to be ensured that all those who are in danger should be evacuated and all those buildings which can create problem has to be demolished. So is it more of a technical process and administrative process?
We all know that the sinking crisis, as it is being referred to, is no more limited to Joshimath. It's a disaster in the making in several other hill towns. Pauri, Bageshwar, Uttarkashi, Tehri Garhwal and Rudraprayag could all meet the same fate. In fact, locals in Sailang, which is located on the Badrinath highway, they also are fearing a Joshimath-like situation in the future.
यहाँ भी वैसे ही दोहरा रहे हैं सर. जो एनटीपीसी आई है तो नीचे से टनल बना है तो दरारें तो पड़ेगी सर. अच्छा, यहाँ के लोगों को भी क्यों नहीं सताएंगे सर? ऐसे ही हम लोगों को भी सताएंगे जैसे जोशीमठ में सताया है. कोई नहीं आया सर. यहाँ गांव में जब भी छोटे मोटे लोग कहते भी है तो कोई सुनता है नहीं.
हाँ, ये 1-2 साल हो गए ना अभी. तो ये ज्यादा तो अभी अगले साल से आई, फिर ये साल तो ज्यादा आ गई है. और ये टूटेगा तो नीचे हमने तो यहाँ बैंक से लोन लेके 5-6 लाख लोन लेके ये मकान बनाई. ये टूटेगा तो हमको भी खतरा है. वो ये हाल यहाँ भी होगा सर. कभी 1-2 महीने बाद क्या 1 साल बाद यहाँ भी हो जाएगा.
रात मशीन चलती है, सोने भी नहीं देते हैं, ब्लास्ट होती है और तमाम ये मकानों में दरार जा रखी है और हमारे बच्चे को भी नुकसान है कि हमारे स्कूल में, हमारे गांव में स्कूल नहीं है, हॉस्पिटल नहीं है. अब वो नुकसान हो जाएगा तो हमारे बच्चे कहाँ जाएंगे? हम अगर बीमार हो जाएंगे तो हम हॉस्पिटल कहाँ जाएंगे?
The crisis Joshimath is facing today is a reality that has rendered people homeless in no time. But is the gag order an attempt to ensure no panic prevails or an attempt to hide facts with regards to a probable disaster that may eventually not just stay limited to Joshimath alone? Let's open this up this evening. We have Munna Singh Chauhan, MLA and leader BJP Uttarakhand. We also have Karan Verma, author and political analyst, joining us on the special edition, along with the scientist and former joint director DRDO Dr. V.N. Jha, senior journalist Ashutosh Mishra and leader from the Congress party Mr. Vivek Bansal. My first question though is to Mr. Munna Singh Chauhan, because Mr. Chauhan, I want to understand the intention behind having passed such an order wherein no sort of communication on an official level via a official channel can be done with regards to the developments on ground. Given that, there is a certain amount of subsidence that has been witnessed the last few days, and ISRO report highlighted it in as many words, showing these satellite images. Why then stop any sort of communication whatsoever?
It's absolutely wrong to call it a... In fact, this is a very well considered viewpoint, and great degree of sensitivity. This decision was taken because a large number of experts are camping in Joshimath, and based on their studies, some of the releasing the data in a piecemeal manner, that is giving a conflicting interference and causing panic among the locals. The NDMA, after a great degree of sensitivity under direction from the MHA, took a decision that all the experts are working very hard, collecting data before arriving at a conclusion. Obviously, the different departments need to coordinate with each other and then draw some conclusion. So the whole purpose is not to censor the information from the public domain, but to ensure that there is no rumor mongering, there is no panic, and the inference is drawn, because this is a multidisciplinary approach. No single department can say with finality that this is the single cause for subsidence. So there are many regions, some are hydrology related, some are, as we all say that this is a glacier material, some are saying there is a flow of subsurface water, this and that. And some are attributing the...
But the question then arises, Mr. Chauhan, while you're saying that all of this is being done to make sure that there is no panic on ground, can this also not lead to a certain amount of anxiety, sir? That's the question that is being asked here, but I want Dr. V.N. Jha to come in as well.
No, there should not be a misgiving.
Hold on, Mr. Chauhan. Let's hear it from others. Dr. V.N. Jha, what do you make of this kind of an order being passed? Finally, after an expert panel decides to release a data, for example, the NDMA in this case, is only when any sort of communication will happen. What do you make of this move?
Kiswen, thank you very much for calling on your channel about unstable surface formed due to the, century-old the debris and the mudslides onto which this surface has now made. It is a false surface which can only withstand certain given amount of weight. Per square meter of the surface area, there is a weight limitation, or you can express in terms of per square kilometer surface area, how much of the weight it can withstand. So right now, it is not able to withstand that weight, and that is what it is happening is, this weight over the surface is causing it to subside down.
It is a matter of study.
Hold on, Mr. Chauhan, hold on, I'll come back to you. Let him make his point. Hold on.
Could I just finish? See, Kiswen, I have also sent you one slide to Marfua in your PCR. In case if it is available, if you can display it, it will explain to you.
Okay.
Those stones, those big rocks, those the mudslides of the century old are there in the basement. And when the weight over it is in excess, in addition to the shakes and the tremors happening every now and then, that is, shaking at the ground, those things are settling down, and that is why you see that there is a strain in the surface as well as the surface is subsiding. Then, if the ISRO with the satellites about say 500, 600 kilometers above the surface of the Earth, if it is saying that it has subsided say by about 5.4 centimeter, we should not doubt that, but from that altitude, when you say that it has subsided by 5.4 millimeters, whether it is 2 inches or 1.5 inches or 2.5 inches, in a country which is so politically active, it has got so much of ramifications of a political statement. Maybe that the government has advised the ISRO to keep that. The studies are going on, the scientists are on the ground. Even though I don't have affiliations with the government, even I am proceeding to the Joshimath in another about 7 days. So all those teams are studying there. But fact of the matter is, what is happening to Joshimath is not exclusive to the Joshimath.
Yes.
It is happening elsewhere also, where there is no dam, where there is no water tunnel, where there is no activity of something what is happening at Joshimath. So we must understand that. And lastly, if you can allow me about another 30 seconds.
No, sir, so are you ruling out that, let's say, construction, heavy construction, regular blasting has had no effect, no impact, no contribution whatsoever?
That is what I was coming to. If you allow me here onto this particular subject, see, the construction, developmental activity, unplanned developmental activity will surely destabilize the slopes. You know, in the recent years and months, what we have seen, that there are the road development. Mr. Gadkari has, developed the entire Himalayan area, but the slope of fixation is not happening to the tune what it should happen. You should understand that when we cut the slope, there are about, say, 100 trillion tons of those mud which is pressing onto it. And those small few stones, bricks and other things will not stop it. So scientists have also advised the road construction team that this much of restraint of the capability of the to the tune of hundreds of the tons of debris have to be stopped there. That is where right now government is lacking in many of the areas. Somewhere some partial attention is being paid to the fixation of the slope, but that is not adequate. That is happening in the as a mudslide in elsewhere, but that is not related to the mud subsiding in the Joshimath. Mud subsiding is one area what we have seen in the ward 1, 4, 5 and 7 in the Joshimath and elsewhere, and this the road cutting and other things are somewhere else.
Okay, but the fact remains, if we go by these satellite images as well, Dr. Jha, and that's exactly why these questions today perhaps are being raised, the fact remains that the maximum subsidence that was recorded over a period of 7 months was 8.9 centimeters. Now it's within 12 days has reached 5.4 centimeters. Isn't that worrisome? That's the big question. Ashutosh Mishra.
That is can you give me another 10 seconds?
I'll come back to you, sir. I'll come back to you. Ashutosh Mishra, what do you make of this order that's now been passed?
The bigger concern here is that in this information age, the government wants to control the information that is available to the public. That will even aggravate the problem, because now people, their trust in government is not very high, and the information being provided, if it is controlled, this is like in line with policy of Modi government. It only wants the facts and things to be presented to people which hide Modi government's failure to read the situation and take timely action. Now let's remember, environmental...
But sir, haven't the acts of neglect equally been performed by the Congress government as well in the state? Were they not in power? Could they have not made a difference? Aren't they scoring political brownies today in just going after the government? Can they wash their hands of this?
The problem here is not scoring political point. The problem here is that you are putting public's life in danger by trying to do the same thing or not do the same thing that Congress had done. Let's not get into that. The thing here is that Modi government has this habit. It has eased environmental guidelines, clearance guidelines for infrastructure projects. That's everybody knows. It's the next victim will be Great Nicobar Islands.
These projects, construction activities not undertake while Congress was in power in the state of Uttarakhand, and that's where I'm coming to. That's what I've been trying to highlight. This cannot be a BJP or a Congress issue. It's not a political issue. All governments have to be blamed equally, and hence political brownies must not be scored, sir. I want Vivek Bansal also to come in. Mr. Bansal, now that this order has been passed and the Congress is saying this is being done to save the image of the Prime Minister, are we going to bring it down to that, sir?
This is ridiculous. I think we should not politicize this issue. This is an issue where the life of the people, of the residents out there is endangered, and it's not confined to that only. We should, this is just a pointer to the things which are going to follow in other areas as well. And definitely there had been fault lines. Be it may Congress government Mishra committee report since 1976 has been lying. Char Dham Yatra had been, for that the Supreme Court had constituted an inquiry committee. and that Mr. Ravi Chopra resigned on this account, that this is going to cause a lot of damage to the ecosystem over there and to the basically the ecosystem, and but no one took cognizance of it. Okay. And then again, you go by the version of the residents of the place, the small shopkeepers and all, they had been saying soon after this rainy disaster, and then after the avalanche which took place in 1921, after that they had been complaining to the district administration and to the government, but nobody took cognizance of it. And soon after, when this privileged people started complaining, or this commercial interest of the hospitality business, they started noticing their
so everyone has had their share.
The government came into action.
Everyone has had their share of snatching the pie, perhaps using this as an opportunity, and it is the people on ground in Joshimath and several other areas. Now, remember, like I pointed out, Pauri, Bhageshwar, Uttarkashi, Tehri, Garhwal, remember what's happening in Karan Prayag. I want Karan Verma to come in as well. There are cracks that are being witnessed there as well. Residents say they too are widening, Karan. Can we then negate what was pointed out in the 1976 report? You know, how the town's geography is the main factor contributing to Joshimath sinking, how this is a site of ancient landslide. Can all of that be ignored today? And what do you make of the order that's come in? Do you think sensitive information such as this must not be passed on to the people who may directly get affected by any such development which may take place in the near future?
This might panic them. This might panic them.
You've asked some very valid questions, Crispin, and please allow me a couple of minutes so that I can answer all of them. First of all, you're right. It was raised in 1976 when it began, and successive governments are absolutely responsible for neglecting this time and again, and it is a classic case of government after government and man exploiting nature to the fullest. And there comes a time when nature lashes back, and this is what we are witnessing. Now, when you talk about the report, let's understand this. There are certain subjects where you require expert opinions, and they can create hysteria if shared selectively. We've had many instances of this in the past. You remember the COVID times when there was hysteria and everyone had become an immunologist, when all of them were giving guidelines of their own. You remember when everyone was pushing for Pfizer and Moderna to get licenses, and how disastrous it would have been. So the truth is, not everyone is a microbiologist, not everyone is an environmentalist. Here is a classic case where information has to be shared only when certain things are concluded. And what does the NDMA so-called gag order say? The last line I'm reading: refrain from posting anything on the media platform until final report of expert group is released. So let's wait for the final report from the experts to be released. People like Dr. Jha are a part of that expert panel. Okay. Let's see what comes out of it. Only then we should jump to conclusions. 2 days back, there were 2 hotels that had to be brought down. And the rumor that had spread there was that they were coming down and people had refrained from bringing them down. So this kind of hysteria also thwarts any sort of relief effort. That is the last thing we want in a sensitive hilly area like this. So I think it's a well thought out move, if you ask me.
Well thought out plan, because misinformation, rumor mongering is certainly something that must be avoided at any cost at this point in time. Ashutosh Mishra, I believe, wants to respond. Absolutely. Sir, the fact remains that, like Karan is pointing out, it says until the final report of the expert group is released by the NDMA. Till then, one must not go ahead and pass on any sort of communication. Communicate anything that may perhaps lead to panic or anxiety. What's the harm in passing such an order, sir? A consensus will be reached upon, a final report will be submitted, people will be told what the truth is, but not from 5 different directions.
So if you see the history of Modi government, from demonetization to COVID to infrastructure, it always wants only its viewpoint to be taken as the true viewpoint. By not sharing the data available with government agencies with other experts, what it wants to do is force the view of its own experts, which will obviously give a report which will be helpful to Modi
आशुतोष मिश्रा जी, ये तो वही बात हो गई कि NI भी गलत है, Enforcement Directorate भी गलत है, CBI भी गलत है. Now the NDMC is also not going to be trusted. ये तो बात हो गई ना सर कि कोई भी एजेंसी, चाहे वो इन्वेस्टिगेटिंग एजेंसी हो, चाहे वो नेशनल डिजास्टर में इन्वॉल्व हो, none of them will be trusted. ये तो वही बात हो गई.
Krishnan is obsessed with Modi. He is obsessed with the Prime Minister. हर चीज में एंटी मोदी ले आते हैं. Sir, we have to be responsible with data. Incomplete data without context can be harmful. For God's sake,
Ashutosh Mishra ji, respond to that. Are you going to now question the NDMA as well on what it decides to finally compile and put out to the public? Because, so far we've heard the Congress, several opposition parties come out, say, oh, NI is working at behest of the BJP. Oh, the BJP is misusing agencies like the ED and CBI. Now are we going to go and say the same thing for NDMA as well? An agency involved in disaster management, sir?
So why is the government afraid of sharing the information with other experts and listen to their viewpoints? The viewpoints of other experts might be divergent with what NDA
I see Mr. Chauhan wanting to come in since a while. Mr. Chauhan, why can an agency like ISRO not be trusted? Why are they not allowed to share their opinion? Mr. Chauhan.
It's a question of not trusting the ISRO. The question is, as I said, this involves a multi-disciplinary approach. Before arriving at a conclusion, the data collected by the different departments are to be correlated and then to be diagnosed what exactly is the ultimate cause of this.
Why you have to make that data
Otherwise, if everyone starts becoming an expert, somebody says due to tunnel, somebody says because of the water accumulation, somebody says because of the non-drainage plan, somebody says because of the bad sewer lines, somebody says because of the river flow downside, so failure, then to everybody is an expert. So the question is, the gentleman, I'm grateful to him, he has very rightly put it. We have witnessed a similar situation during the COVID time. Ultimately, government had to restrain people from making this kind of an manganat statement.
Now, but we can't ignore the fact, Mr. Chauhan, that experts have long warned that the landslide debris on which the city was built has a low bearing capacity. It cannot sustain a high rate of construction. It's been stated, it's been proven, and Dr. Jha was trying to explain the same thing to us, that there are multiple factors at play here. Dr. Jha, if you could just come in, this kind of environment wherein there is scope for so much misinformation that can perhaps be peddled, do you think this is a move in the right direction?
Shouting so loud, I'm asking
possible to display the slide that I have sent to Marfa.
Sir, I have that slide. We'll go across to our producers and request them to play it out in a bit as well. But I have it, so you can go ahead with that explanation. And help us understand whether there is scope for, let's say 4 or 5 different factors at play here, leading to a lot of confusion and panic, and hence this may have been a step in the right direction.
Not only 4 or 5 factors, there are numerous factors here in this. Whenever the geology is concerned, the subsoil is under the question. Many factors come into play. One, of course, I told you that there are the old mudslides and the rock slides that has happened centuries old, over which this false surface of Joshimath and maybe some other places are formed, which surely will have a tendency to collapse if more weight is put there. But, questions are being raised, the developmental activities. If the mud is sliding only in the area where all this, the false surface was there, the other area, other hill features, there are another 4 hill features there in the same area, in the same locality. If there are heavy constructions there, like anywhere else, they will not get affected. But, the tremors, which this area is so vulnerable, Chamoli comes in that tectonic activity. The moment, any time this tectonic activities will happen, tremors will come, those rocks, those mudslides, subsoil will try to subside, and it will happen. Whatever we do, see, once all these constructions are there, that weight is there. As long as that weight remains on that subsoil, on that soil, on that surface, it will continue subsiding. There's only two ways that it can amend now. One, that you remove those concretes from that area and put it somewhere else, which is heavy thing to us. And secondly, construct all lighter, houses, fabricated, prefabricated houses.
And that's why those damaged houses are now being demolished, and something has to be done. So there is a plan that is now being charted out, a strategy that is being put in place. But, you know, these are points that continue to be raised, questions that continue to be asked, whether or not the public can be kept away from what the reality is, though the government is of the opinion that a concrete report that passes through the NDMA will reach the public. They're not going to be kept in hiding. Let's see how this plays out, gentlemen. I'm going to have to leave it at that. Thank you for joining us on Debate 1 on the special edition.